After Work Fisherman here. I thought I'd do this video to show folks how I get the striped spinner set up. About a month ago I went out to the Weber River and just slayed them on this pattern. I hope you enjoy it. It's something that I thought I'd do tonight and then get out to you guys. I've had a lot of questions asking me how I do this, so it's pretty easy, but I'll let you in on a few of the tricks that I do. Anyway, let's go. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with this tutorial and getting the stripes done. So let's go ahead and let's see. Let's bring up Inkscape. I've already got the half blade loaded, and this is the new blade that I use and chose to use for inline spinners. But there's some things that we want to do with it to change and create the stripes. And so what I'm doing is I'm drawing white rectangles. Let's go ahead and color them red for the time being. And the reason for that is I can see it because the background is white. So the thing about Inkscape, and so I clicked it twice there. So the first time allows you to resize, the second time allows you to shift it. And so if you use the side arrows there, so that's the enlarge, resize, and then you click it again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And the reason why I'm copying this is this imitates the stripe. And so I want them to be exactly the same. And that's the reason why I copy them. It's so easy to line them up a little bit because they are red. And so I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select them all. And the reason why I'm doing this is just so I can align them. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the align button up there at the top. Go ahead and I think I want to align them to the left, I believe. Yeah, left edge. So that aligned them to the left. And then the other thing I want to do is distribute them evenly. So where's the distribute? I think that did it. But I'm going to look at these other ones for sure. They're pretty distributed anyway, and so that looks pretty good. So I'm just curious about these other items. I think we're good. Okay, so in order to do the next step, and so what I want to do is kind of merge both of these. But if you noticed, what I just did was I changed it to white. They're two separate objects, but the problem is that I've got to merge them. And so what I did was click two objects, and it has to be two, can't be more, and then click on difference. So I'm going to click that object, the background object, click path, and then difference. And that basically merges them. Well, kind of takes the difference between the two of them and basically creates our stripe, and also modifies the object of the half inline blade. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. And here we are. This is our inline blade. And if I drag it around, it is a single object. And also, it, according to my Cricut cutter, Cricut cutter, it will cut along those black outlines, or the outlines of the black object there, which is what we want. So now that we're done, we're going to go ahead and click on Save As. This is bringing up what it used to be saved as, but what I've done, obviously, is I've done some stripes. Notice that I've done some other patterns here. I've saved this, or the previous one, as a striped, and that's what I use for my striped cut for the lure tape for my blades. Anyway, let's get on to getting this cut and then put on a blade, and let's make some spinners. Okay, let's open up Cricut. the Cricut design software. In another video, I've showed you how you can import the SVG, duplicate it, align it, and then create these sets. Now this fits the pattern and is exactly a little less than 1 inch tall. This is how I get my lure tape. I actually get it from Hoopology. So I'm going to go ahead and process it, and let's go ahead and get this cut. So I got to move these along to fit on the mat. So I'm going to make sure that they're not touching the lines, and the reason why is because I am putting the tape on the mat so that it doesn't touch the lines or over the lines, and so that when it cuts exactly where I want it in these areas on the mat. So I'll go ahead and finish this, and then we'll go ahead and proceed to cutting. I'm not going to go ahead and show the cutting. You've seen it on a different video. It takes forever to cut because of the different angles and so on and so forth. So I will go ahead and I will see you in just a sec once they're cut, and we'll start making spinners. Okay, so now that we've got the striped template cut, you should end up with items that look a little similar to this. And the reason why they look like this is because we've made a stripe across it. And some of the ends are off, but that just came off during the peeling back of the sticker. But these should work just fine as far as the blades. What I wanted to show you was actually the finished product. You can see that the blade is actually striped like that on one side, and when it spins, it does give off a little bit of a pattern. Let me just make sure that you can see that. But this is what those brown trout were hitting. And so I've made up the exact one that the brown trout were hitting. It was actually a gold version with blue, I want to say blue flake, but really it's blue tape that's basically changes color, so it's iridescent. Anyway, so what I wanted to do was just go over making that spinner. One thing I wanted to talk about was, so here are two spinners. One is the old version. Notice that the old version goes completely around the blade, and actually there's a bit of a tear, so this one's going to go away. And what I mean by that is, I originally made the sticker to completely go around the blade similar to this. So if you look at it, there's the hole that it comes out, and if you look at the sticker itself, it goes completely around. The problem with this is from this point on, so if you look at my thumbnail, from this point on to the top, that piece would come off because that is actually spinning almost 10 times faster than the outside of the blade. And so this was prone to unpeel itself. And so I redesigned the spinner to look more like this. So here are some that I've redesigned. And they're kind of half, but they cover, if you look at this, this actually goes around, but it does not go over and around the eyelet or the hole that the shank is coming through. And the reason it's that I wanted to do this adheres 10 times better to the blade than the one that goes all the way around. So now that I've got that out of the way, let's get to creating these. So first, let me get 2 or 3 of these. You'll also notice that, whoops, not this one. Let's do a few of these. What you'll notice is, so I'll put these over here, but I've also got this, and this is basically a fly tying product. What it basically is really thin UV epoxy. So you use a torch or a light, if you will, that instantly cures the epoxy. This actually comes into play when you put on something this small onto a blade, and what this does is it cures the sticker, if you will, to the blade, and the way it does that is it puts an epoxy coating over the top of it and prevents these little itty bitty things from peeling, and looks pretty good. Alright, so let's go and find, so here is the blue one, and this is what was catching those big brown trout a month ago, and I'm going to of course need our trusty clear tape. So I'm going to take off a piece of tape. Now this becomes ultra important, especially with this type of lure tape, especially since there's little teeny bits and pieces, and you want to keep it to a pattern. Using this method of putting tape over it to apply is so important. So now that I've got this from this adhesive backing to the tape, you can see that this is what it's going to be. Looks like there's a piece of lint or something there. Let me get rid of it. Anyway, so now that it's on here, now we can transfer it to one of these blades. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and center it there. I want to make sure that it's exactly center in the bottom half of the blade. And the reason why I want it that way is so that these things stay with the pattern and then also adhere to the blade and form the pattern on the blade. I'm going to use one of these other blades to actually kind of mat it down. Like so. And then go ahead and peel this off. So we're going to peel this off. If you notice, that's almost a perfectly placed cut lure tape onto a inline spinner, which is pretty cool, if you ask me. I do recommend painting at times, but sometimes getting a paint gun, waiting for it to dry, and doing all the things that you need to do in order for it to work. Plus, it's pretty impossible to paint these iridescent sparkles in there. So I'll leave that. I'm just going to go ahead and do one, and then we'll try and do the rest of them. Okay, so the next step is to get our heat gun, and we're just going to heat it so that we can get an even coat of whatever adhesive is on the back. Get an old shirt or an old rag. I find that these old t-shirts work really well, cotton t-shirts. So now I'll heat this up. Really concerned about that edge piece. Let's heat it up. And all I'm going to do is just press down to make sure that nothing moves out of its place so that the pattern stays. Make sure nothing moves out of its place so that the pattern stays. And is completely adhered to the blade. Not bad. Okay. Now that that is done, and we still get that a bit of iridescence on the blade. Took a little bit of the sparkle out, but what's nice is the iridescence stays, and it keeps the pattern, which is most important. Okay, next we're going to get our spinner shaft. Go ahead and build this really quick for you. Well, actually, before I do that, I forgot one important step. We're going to go ahead and use this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little extra piece of shaft to basically spread this evenly across the blade. So what I'm going to do is, if I go ahead and drop this on, and we don't need much because we don't need much of a layer on there. We just need enough to spread around. And then let's pick the blade up. Now we're going to spread this evenly with the shank. Notice how nice and even it spreads across the blade like that. Especially the edges. Okay, nice and even. Make sure that there's no streaks and it doesn't adhere, and it doesn't bunch up or pool up in one particular spot. So always be tilting it back and forward, back and forward. Just making sure that that is all even. Okay, so it looks pretty good. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the torch. That's it. It's now adhered. And the reason why I want to spread it so thinly across this is so that it doesn't impede the action of the blade. It does add just a slight little bit of weight, but it doesn't impede the action of the blade. Okay, let's go ahead and build our spinner now. So we're going to put a ball bearing in front of it. And we're going to put a ball bearing behind it. And the reason why I do this is once you cast out and while it's sinking, this will actually spin as long as there's a ball in front of it and a ball behind it. If you don't do that, what it'll do is sometimes it'll go upside down and hang like that, and it'll stop spinning until you start pulling it in. But I want it to spin no matter what. That way I don't lose any strikes during the initial cast. Alright, so now I've got my body. I'll go ahead and put it there, put it on, make sure it's there. Okay, and for this, I like to go to the end of the blade. So if you look at the blade, there's quite a bit of room between the end of the body and the end of the blade. So I'll go ahead and put one bead on. Looks like there's still a little bit of room. So I'll put on a smaller bead after it. Whoops, sorry about that. Got my fancy dancy knot tying tool. Just fell down. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And that's what it looks like from the other side. Cool. Alright, so now I'm just doing my fancy dancy measurement, which is basically 2 fingers. I'll take my cutters, cut it there. Okay. And I'll go ahead and put in the R-bend on the Hagens, or on my WIREFORMER. So go ahead and put it in the bottom portion to make the bend. There's half of the R-bend, and I'm going to switch it over and do the other half. So you should have something similar to that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put on a size 12, actually size 2 split ring. Okay, and let me just adjust the camera now. And now I'm going to put it in the actual main WIREFORMER bit, and it does the barrel rolls. So I'm going to go ahead and twist that a couple of times. And what you end up with is something like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and put on the hook. I'm going to use a size 8. Actually, let's do a size 10. The nice thing about a split ring is you can switch hooks, you can switch types of hooks. So I can put a single hook on here and make it a little bit more weedless if you fish a lot of grass. Or I can just do the standard treble. And I'll take my split ring pliers, split it. And then around those pliers, pull it through. And there we have it. Those Weaver Browns were destroying this. They were absolutely going bonkers over this, and there was no hesitation, none. And I attribute that to the stripes. It's something probably they haven't seen before, and the color combination. I think that it was a very. I think it basically imitated a bait fish of some sort, but they absolutely attacked it. And, you know, as you saw, there were a few fish that inhaled it so much it was down their throats by the time I actually set the hook. So, anyway, there you go, guys. Let me get this here, and then I'll get one of the others. So I've got a bigger version here, size 3, or actually a size 4. And you can see how effective this will be. I will use this probably trolling. The nice thing about inline spinners is that when you reel them in, you don't need to reel them in at the same speed as, say, a MEPS. And the reason why is because the center of rotation is actually offset, and so you can reel it a lot slower to get the blades to spin a lot slower. And so I use the bigger ones for trolling, and behind a flasher even, and kill the kokanees. This is my favorite kokanee one. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to you later. Thank you.